Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Dig Deep Coaching Stage 3 of the Virtual Grand Tour. We are following along with the Tour de France throughout the entirety of the Tour de France. Every day of the tour is going to be looking to be replicated for the critical moments for the winning moves. Obviously, today was the team time trial. We've got some special data coming in from the riders in the tour, actually. That is all thanks to Dig Deep Coaching that put together this entire program. You can join us daily around this time on weekdays. We'll be live at 12:55 and the ride is live at 12:55 CST Central Standard Time, and that is 6:55 over in the UK. Got alongside me, Stephen Gallagher from Dig Deep Coaching. The ride is underway. It looks about 5-minute warm-up before we get into the hard work of the team time trial for the riders out there today. Welcome to the program, Stephen. How's it going over there?
Thank you. Yeah, very good, very good. Looking forward to a great workout. Team time trials are never easy. It was a great stage today, which we'll be talking about. And yeah, I think it's a great workout for everybody to increase their fitness. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. So.
Yeah, well, during the 5-minute warm-up real quick here, let's chat a little bit about the hi Nathan going through in I love the chat there in the game there. But let's talk a little bit about the stage and what went down today, and then what the riders are going to be tackling here for the workout and why. So the stage today, they were, well, how long was this? I think it was like 35 kilometers, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah.
35 kilometers.
Yeah, 35 stage.
Little bumpy too, it looked like out there today. Just now, how long ago did this finish? Like, this is kind of cool the way that this is all working. This just finished like, I don't know, like an hour ago?
Yeah, about maybe 1.5 hours ago. So yeah, European time, I think it finished maybe about 5 o'clock or so. You know, I'm not sure, so not long.
Yeah. So it's about an hour and a half ago, and directly following the race, we were able to grab a little bit of data, thanks to Training Peaks, being able to supply some of that to us here, and we'll be able to go over some of that. But what did you think of this stage, though? What did you think of? I mean, it was a little bumpy, and it looked like it was difficult for some of the riders to hang on throughout it.
Yeah, it was. I think it was probably a little bit harder than what a lot of people expected. That climb around the 26-kilometer mark, where you see there on the profile, I mean, that really put a lot of riders in the red. Like Peter Sagan, obviously the yellow jersey going into the stage, suffered quite a bit today, and he got dropped. I think it was on that climb. He got dropped from his team, and yeah, it was difficult. But I think there was only 4 riders needed to finish to give the obviously the team time, and you know, most teams did finish with only 4 or 5, and I think they jettisoned a lot of their riders and used them up on the hardest
this year. I mean, so I would think some of that. Now, the reason we're looking at the graphic here is mainly just give the idea of what the course profile is like. There was a couple little kicks in there. It was a little maybe more difficult at times when they were driving. The pace for all the riders to hang on. Now, only 4 riders had to hang on today, which was kind of interesting, only having to have that many. So I think some of the stronger riders were really able to just pedal to the metal. I mean, you know, like just really lay into it when they needed to, and people started getting jettisoned at that point from the back of the group. The expectation was for BMC to take the W, I think, from a lot of people, and they did just that. But it was only by a slim margin, actually. In Team Sky, only 4 seconds back, I think it was, right? And then Quick Step 7. The times were so incredibly close
and fast. Like, what did they average? 55 kilometers an hour.
55 kilometers an hour for the silly American money. It was like 34 miles per hour. So yeah, it's it was a crazy fast team time trial today.
Yeah, not flat. It wasn't flat either. So yeah, you know, it was crazy speeds. So, but well, it was expected. So yeah, and Greg Van Avermaet, obviously in the yellow jersey, the BMC rider. I don't think he's obviously in any contention to be a threat in the overall, but I think BMC are going to be delighted with that, and great discipline to watch. If anybody hasn't watched it yet, apologies for us giving you the spoilers. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about that, but yeah, go and check it out if you can see some clips of it, because it was
We might
awesome.
actually, we might have to, I didn't think of that. Like, we might have to at the beginning of the program be like, we are going to talk about all things tour. If you don't want to hear all things tour, I'm sorry, but maybe we should say that, because then everybody just leaves. Like, that's a hard line. That's a hard line to run here for sure. But all right, so during this warm up, it looks like we've got the standard warm up that we have in most of the Dig Deep coaching. 30 seconds on, 130 off, 30 seconds on. Can you explain what the riders are doing and why they're doing this warm up here real quick, and like what it does prior to the time trial?
Okay, so what we're doing is we're just obviously a few minutes riding easy at the start, zone 1, zone 2, just to get the body moving again and sort of get the technique going, and then we do a couple of fast cadence activations. That's them wattage going up for 30 seconds, going up to into zone 4, lower zone 5. Again, it's not about us building up much lactate. It's about just getting them fast twitch muscle fibers activated, and about just getting them pathways ready before you kick off into the harder efforts. So that's really what it's about. So we don't want to do too much early on as well. It's going to be a hard sort of 40-minute effort here after that. So and we kind of ease up into it. So
super high cadence. A lot of times with these high cadence intervals, I would have not too big of a gear, and it would just be about getting blood moving to the legs and not putting a lot of muscular stress, though, so you don't wear out the muscles and tear the muscles up at all, but at the same time you do such a high cadence that it brings a ton of blood into and it gets that heart rate up, right?
Yeah, it's getting your aerobic system activated. And as you said there, Nathan, it's about a real low torque effort. It's not about, don't be getting out of the saddle, sprinting maximal. In fact, any advice for these sort of activations, if you're not too keen about bringing your power up to that level, focus on the cadence and get that cadence going, and get the rhythm and the power and your
it's almost more about the RPMs, right? It's more about the RPMs and just catching the gear, not a big gear, but just catching on to that gear.
Yeah, that's it. And it should feel slightly unnatural to go at that high cadence, at that sort of perceived effort. But again, it's not for any real training benefits. It's more for the benefits of just getting your body open. So, just ease yourself into it, and then, and then we'll be ready to kick off pretty soon after that.
All right, so let's chat a little bit as they are going to be kicking off in just a moment here after these this last warm up here. So we're looking at 240, 255, 270, and then a 300. And this is all relative to my own threshold. But what what's happening during this beginning? So it looks like we've got this rotation that's going to be coming throughout the intervals here. What exactly is taking place at the beginning of this time trial, and why have you scheduled it this way?
Okay, so anybody who's seen a team time trial and has maybe done the discipline before will understand that it's about taking your turns at the front over periods of time, maybe 1 minute turns and whatnot. So it's about us replicating them efforts of going, maybe the top end of your threshold, even to your lower end of VO2 for periods of time between 1 minute and 2 minutes. So, and in between that, we're sitting back in the wheels. You're bringing your cadence back down. You get lowering the power a wee bit, getting ready as you're moving back up the line of your team before taking your turn again. And as the ride progresses today, we're going to be taking longer and longer terms, because today you're the GC rider, your persona is the GC rider, so you don't get it easy today at any stage. You're there and you're the man that's the responsibility to take the big turns at the end. Like we've seen with Tom Dumoulin today and Michael Matthews, if anybody watched them coming into the finish, Tom Dumoulin was really hammering his team coming in. They'd done a great time, and he was the man with the responsibility to bring them guys home. So we're doing exactly the same today. As we get to the end, you're getting to the very top end of your aerobic power. after already have done a lot of a lot of big turns to the front. So that's what we're doing. We're starting off 1 minute turns, we're going into 2 minute turns, and then at the end we're really ramping up to some VO2 efforts. So it's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be a great workout. So yeah.
So essentially, I mean, you're looking at this progressively more difficult effort, more and more and more and more difficult, getting closer to the threshold, then over threshold, over threshold, and over threshold each time you're coming through on the turns in the front. So it's not backing off. Once we get going, it looks like it's essentially little rests followed by super hard efforts. Up and over the top. So we'll be watching this all the way through, obviously, and seeing how the riders are handling the efforts that they're going to be throwing at them. It's going to be changing up a whole lot, it looks like, throughout here. And it looks to be a solid threshold day. I mean, this looks like a serious fitness builder, actually, when it comes to just being able to go fast for a long period of time.
Absolutely, and it's sometimes doing really prolonged efforts at threshold can be a little hard on the mind. Again, it's very difficult for some people as well to maybe suffer for 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time doing super hard threshold efforts. Doing this on and off switch really helps us, and going on as in a little bit higher over the top of your threshold makes it a little bit easier to again get them adaptations for those people that maybe find it more difficult making the big blocks of effort. So pay a lot of attention to your cadence today. There's specific cadence ranges that we've put in as well. So we're looking at hitting over 100 RPM during the harder sections whenever you're taking turns at the front.
Over 100.
And so we're looking at between 100 and 105. And if you think, that's maybe something difficult, the reason we have done it is obviously we're trying to replicate the guys in Tour de France, and we've got some insight of data that's just come into this in the last 30 minutes from some of the top riders that have raced it, and we can pretty much prove the cadences that they were riding at. So you should be thankful that we're only doing it for a minute or two at a time. So compared to what they have just done.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about that, because you're saying that the cadence is extremely important in the time trial, and you're seeing 95 RPM. I mean, look at these avatars; they're absolutely, and these avatars right here, just so everybody knows, are representing the kind of cadence that these riders are putting out right now. So this looks, I mean, already like maybe well over what I would usually do. Actually, usually I'm pretty low. I'm a grinder, classic mountain biker. I did later on figure out that wasn't the way to ride my bike the most efficiently and to win races all the time. And we did figure out later that spinning to win is a big deal, especially in the mountain biking, actually, because you get so much torque at certain times that you need to relieve as much as you possibly can. But looking at this, the riders, let's go into as much as we possibly can with the cadence thing, because I think that's really key for the time trial today. It might be something that is different than what's usually talked about in time trial efforts, at least at the popular level. In a lot of coaching, you do get that chat a lot. But so, is there anything we want to look at here from the data that we do have today? You want any of this stuff that we want to bring up to talk about exactly what's happening with this cadence here?
Yeah, let's maybe look at we're very fortunate enough to have maybe Simon Clark's data from AF Education. Simon is obviously the team leader. If we can get his maybe full profile of
is this the one?
Of today's, that's his total ride today. And Simon Clark looked to have been really the driving force of the team for about the first 25 minutes of the stage. After about 25 minutes, it looked to be he was dropped off, and he'd done the big turns earlier on. But you can see for his the total ride, and bear in mind the last 20 minutes he was probably riding a bit easier than what he would have been, because obviously he was dropped off. But for his total ride, he averaged an average power of 307 watts, normalized 346 watts. So like his normalized power average was 5.5 watts per kilo. And it was you can see here it was a really really solid day.
How'd they
And
up
again,
on the
that was
day? How did this team end up on the day? Let's take a look
so I
here.
think they were about fifth. I think.
Whew.
Let me see. So sixth at only 35 seconds down,
Yeah,
and that was
EF
a
Education
real.
Chapek.
Yeah, so I think their Rigoberto Uran is now maybe 10th overall. So I mean, it's a to be honest with you, it's a fantastic position for them. But if we maybe bring up his peak 20-minute power, it's more relevant to the actual effort of what he did whenever he was in the group, and this will give you a really good example of his cadence actually. So you can see here in his peak 20-minute power, he averaged nearly 370 watts. That's nearly 5.86 watts per kilo for 20 minutes. I think that's the 8-minute one. I think if we've got maybe the 20-minute one
See if I can get that for
there,
you
Nathan.
here. I got two. I got a Heyman, I got a Clark, and I got so let's see if I can bring you up a 20. Well, peak 20, I'm seeing 369 on this one right here. So, but it's not selected specifically. You can see it in the lower right hand corner there.
Oh yeah. So he actually averaged 101 RPM for his peak 20-minute effort. So like he was over 100 RPM for 20 minutes. Today we're asking you to do, going up into over 100 RPM for, just 1 or 2 minutes at a time. But he had this for, the full duration of the time that he was with the team, basically. So, really hard. He normalized nearly 390 watts for 20 minutes. That's over 6.1 watts per kilo. So, that's just
6.1.
That's just incredible.
Did you just say 6.1?
Yeah. His normalized power for 20 minutes was 389 watts, which is 6.17 watts per kilo.
Oh my goodness, you guys! Team Time Trial today.
So,
Simon Clark from Canada Drapic, obviously killing it, and they took fifth. This is sixth overall, 35 seconds off the win, averaging 6.1 watts per kilogram today on the ride. That is absolutely flying. And now the cool thing is so we're looking at something. We're trying to have something similar here, and it's funny. You always think that the peak powers like that are efforts that are all out for this amount of time at 6.1. But since he was in a team time trial, he was sitting in and coming back forward and sitting in and coming back forward. You know what I mean? So actually, like we're seeing here, but it was the kicks over 6.1 that really got him to 6.1 watts per kilogram, right? Like it was the kicks into 6.5 on the front, and then backing off.
Actually, he was. It looked to be he was doing 40-second turns, 30 to 40-second turns, and during that there he was at about 480 to 500 watts per turn, which is working out between 7.6 and 8.4 watts per kilo.
So on the front of these team time trials, you're pushing 7 watts per kilogram, even 8 watts per kilogram at times.
Yeah. So, and I think from his data, he's maybe in around that's about 115% of his FTP. So if we're judging his peak 20-minute power, and taking that into sort of an FTP perspective, he's going 110, 115% for them 30 to 40 to 50-second efforts along whenever he was pulling up the front. So again, today we're asking you to, we're hitting out about 105% of your FTP for them 1-minute blocks, going into 2-minute blocks, and then at the end, we're ramping up to sort of 110. Again, Simon Clark is the team captain. He was there. He's the team captain, and he's there giving the discipline of the team. You're the GC rider, so today you've got to still be there at the end. So, you've got to be hitting them peak powers at the end. So that's what we're trying to replicate today. So, so we've already kicked off. We've already done sort of a couple of turns at the front already, everybody. Hopefully that's opening the legs and lungs up a wee bit. So,
So looking through here, if you guys do want to join into the broadcast, I saw a tweet out earlier. We were supposed to have, it looked like we were supposed to have a special guest here with Colin Sturgis, but wasn't able to make it. But we may be able to grab him soon here. I think in the coming days. But if you do want to interact, like Dig Deep Coaching did with us here, they went out and tweeted out about this. So we'll be getting Sturgis on here soon enough for some interviews during the stages here. So if you do want to interact, now you can interact with us like you saw Dig Deep Coaching doing here by tweeting at Z Community Live. Let's see, we do have or you can comment on the Facebook. I am watching Mixer Chat and Twitch Chat as much as I can, but we do see Will Smith letting us know that his cane sensor isn't working. So just spin like crazy as high as you can. No, I'm just kidding. But if you do want to interact, do tweet at us at Z Community Live, or there is a Facebook post with this live feed, and we will bring in your questions and your comments as they come through. We'd love to answer any questions, any comments that you do have about the workout, about the TDF today, predictions for tomorrow's stage as well. We do those at the end of the ride. We've been hit and miss. You know, I wanted to say Sagan yesterday. I really did, and I don't know why. I just, for some reason, didn't believe. I was like, pure sprinter, pure sprinter, and I kept on saying pure sprinter. And, you know, the crash at the end probably had something to do with this. I mean, it's reality. There was like 15 guys left or something. Yeah, that's right. It was a bit crazy just coming into the finish again. Just another crash. I think Gaviria went down and whatnot. So I think it's been a bit chaotic. Maybe the guys were actually looking forward to a team time trial so they could avoid some crashes. But it was a bit chaotic. So but just on Will there, who messaged saying his cadence sensor was not working. Some advice: just if you don't have a cadence sensor, is just to really go above your safety net of cadence. So something that is a little bit out of your norm. You know, sometimes you're maybe used to riding at about 90 RPM, but you really want to, you know, go just a little bit above your sort of level of comfort of cadence, just for them 1 minute or 2 minutes. Again, it's a great replication for it. But I think Will is, I think he's quite a popular guy here on Zwift. I think he took up cycling a couple of years ago, and he seems to be, I think he goes under, does he go under his name? So Big Mig Willowman. So Willowman here, that's him right here. So good to see him. I believe he's the only man that I know proposed to his wife at the top of Alpe d'Huez 2 years ago after the Marmot, sort of the big Marmot sportive event in the Alps. So he obviously was fit enough to get down on one knee at the top of the Alpe d'Huez, so fair play to him. I've got down on my knees at the top of Alpe d'Huez a couple of times, but that was just because of cramp. I wasn't proposing to anybody, so fair play to you. Just to the bike. Proposing to the bike. I'm proposing, can we stop now? Can I have I'm good with maybe like not death do us part. Like I'm good with like this is the worst times that I'm out with the bike is what So but that's a really cool story actually. Good to have Big Mig here. It looks like I think he's going to do it all. I think he's going to do all the stages. Well, I don't know. He's going to let us know in a second, I think. So he might let us know. So hopefully, if he does the whole thing, isn't there something sort of prize or something on the line for those who do the whole thing? And those who want to catch up, are they able to do so, or is that not possible? Yeah. Well, so for anybody who wants to catch up, who maybe have not done the stages or have missed stages for whatever reason, we are emailing out all the stages at the end of each week. So every Sunday night, we're going to email all of that previous week's stages. So you just put it into your documents, put it into your Zwift folder, and that'll be part of your workout. So you can do it anytime. So just go to our Sign Up page, digdeepcoaching.com. /GT 2018, and we'll maybe put a link up here later on, and you can click on it and sign up, and you'll get loads of different newsletters. We'll be doing maybe some snippets of the stages. You'll get race manuals. You'll also get just some information just about us and our data that we've been releasing and will be releasing with Training Peaks. So you'll be first to know all of the information during the Tour de France. So that's pretty cool. That's cool. That's way cool.
Yeah.
So you're also going to be releasing through so there's newsletters going out about all of this as well. To those who have signed up. So if the live streams are not your thing, you like to read about what's going on a little bit more. It sounds like that's going to be coming your way as well. That's a ton of work. You guys are putting a huge amount of effort here.
Yeah.
I mean, the analyze. So let's talk about that a little bit. So there are some people asking what's going on here over at Mixer in a few places. This is Zwift, massive multiplayer online game in which people are actually riding real bikes. Right now we're in workout mode. These are real people represented by the numbers that you're seeing on the screen, and the avatars that are riding. The numbers on the screen are what are pushing the avatars forward, like you would see in real life. What's happening right now is Dig Deep Coaching has put together analyzation of all of the stages of the Tour de France and said, this is what the winning moves are going to be like. This is what and today's a team time trial. So the winning move is essentially just a time trial for the entirety of 35K or around that amount of time. So they're replicating what it's like to ride a team time trial in the Tour de France, following along. So each day of the Tour de France is going to be following along with it, looking for those critical moves and getting fitness similar to what the pros will be riding in their critical moves. You can join every day. It's around 12:55 Central Standard Time, 6:55 UK time for the weekdays, and on the weekends there's a little bit different times. It's earlier in the morning for the European market. So looking through some more of the questions here that might be coming through. I want to win the Tour. I gotta up my game. Anson Brooks is saying. Anson, it's always good to see you here. Anson, we have the time trial data you were asking for. If you weren't here earlier in the broadcast, you actually, I believe, were asking for some time trial data to be coming through a couple days ago. But good to have you here in the broadcast. And we'll go over, I think we have Matthew Heyman's ride as well. We'll maybe be able to go over that in a little bit here. What are the rides? So at this point, though, we're about halfway through the time trial.
Yeah.
What's the mentality at this point? You know what I mean? Those who put too much out, those who are looking to ramp it up, maybe how do you start thinking about the second half of this time trial now at this point?
So at this point, like I say, we're maybe around halfway through. The turns are quite short within the team. You're about to jettison off probably a couple of your riders, which means you've got to start taking longer turns. So if I were you, I would just try and keep it controlled. Don't get into the mindset of trying to push it a wee bit harder. Again, it does we got to ramp up our pace towards the end. So just keep that a little bit controlled. And one thing to really focus on is your body, is your technique, keeping your hips steady, making sure your little upper body movement. We're trying to replicate a team time trial. We're trying to keep the technique really good. Whenever you start rocking too much and your body starts going side to side, it's very difficult to keep that power going through the hips, going through your glutes, and going down into your hammies and getting that torque through the pedals. So really focus on keeping still, keeping that technique really good, and saving a little bit of energy in them early 1 minute efforts is really going to help you whenever you got to get that going up to your 110, 115% of your AFTP at the end of the workout. You're not going to be looking that pretty. We don't mind if your technique goes a little bit at the end, because you're just going to try and get everything you have out. But up until that point, really focus on your technique, trying to make sure that you're still, so you'll keep that energy for later on.
Little shout out here. I just saw a late joiner to the ride here. Zach Rogers is in the house. A little bit of a Zwift legend, a little bit from some old school days. And he's talking about during a CBR race, he puked yesterday. He's trying to get back in shape. I know it's been a while since he's been on the bike, and he's joining up with the broadcast and the ride here. He's also a streamer. I want to give a shout out to Zach. Encouragement to Rogers, actually, to keep going and show up for these, and there'll be a good way to temper. Maybe don't just jump right into the races, Zach. Maybe do a bunch of these training rides first. They're short enough that you can get them done. We'll be here daily, so this is a good, I think, program, Zach, to jump into and complete, because I know he's looking for some fitness gains. So good to see Zach jumping into the ride today. And it's cool that you can join late, actually, even if you missed a little bit of the workout. You can still jump in a little bit later. I mean, it looks like he's got the join late is on for the rides.
Yeah, and I think we've got quite a lot of guys here have been contacting us on email and on our own social media there at Dig Deep, just saying about them getting back into fitness and using this 3-week Grand Tour that we've devised to bring them towards objectives later on. I had an email there from a good friend of mine, Ken Holly, who's out there in New Zealand, and he's training for a big stage race event later in the year in New Zealand, and he's using this as a real form builder towards that. So shout out to Ken and anybody else in New Zealand who's up doing it today. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of people using it as a real good training block.
So we're at looks like we're getting toward the pointy end here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. About 9 intervals left to go here, and it looks like we're going to start ramping up a little bit in just a moment. Let's talk about fueling during time trials like this. I think a lot of people I've seen all kinds of mixed bag on opinions on fueling during shorter efforts like this. I've seen people say you bring nothing. You're already it's so short it doesn't matter, you just go all in. I've seen others be like, no way, you need to even take sugar during this actually at some point. So what's your is it different for every rider maybe, or is it is there a set, like, no, pretty much just everybody does this?
Well, I think there's pretty much a set sort of criteria, or there's the basics of what people should do, in the sense that it's your preloading before it is probably the most essential. So something that's 36 minutes long or 40 minutes long, like the guys did today in the Tour de France, it's their nutrition and hydration in the hours leading up to the event is as critical as what it is sort of during it. Obviously, because you've got to be at your prime as soon as you get off that ramp. So hydration levels need to be optimal. It's obviously hot temperature in Western France, being indoors as well. Your sweat rates is going to go up, especially if you don't have a good cooling system in around you. So it's really your hydration, getting your salts in. And also from a sugar perspective, it's, again, we're talking about the sugar, you're full of glycogen, your muscles are full of glycogen before the start, not so much of a full stomach. Again, we kicked off hard, so we want to make sure that it's well digested before the start. And my sort of, whenever I was racing, my sort of thing was to focus on the hydration tablets. So getting the salts and getting them hydro tablets into me, because I know that was going to be a real deterrent in performance come that last 10-15 minutes. Because I was always confident that my muscle glycogen was going to be full. My nutrition strategy was good before it. But the big thing that really could have caused a bit of a decrease in performance was your hydration. Anybody wants to stick a bit of sugar in there, I would definitely say to put a bit of sugar in the bottle with it. It's an easy way to get some sugar. When it's that long and that hard, you don't want to be taking food out of your back pocket. If you were really worried, take an emergency gel. I usually, with a skin suit, would have maybe tucked it up the inside of my shorts or something like that. Maybe take an emergency gel, but really something this short, you should be pretty well fueled. If you're bonking near the end, you probably didn't get your strategy right, in the hour or two before the start. So again, hydration, bit of sugar in the bottle, bit of electrolytes. That's what.
35 to 40 minutes. You're usually not taking something in that period of time. No. Is what we're getting at there. No. It sounds like you're taking it beforehand, and it's everything you got to the line. A lot of times, it's a buffering agent. Those sugars for even an hour and a half, like hour to an hour and a half rides, you're buffering the use of the glycogen in your legs by putting something in the bloodstream. So you get everything in the bloodstream prior to kicking off is the idea too.
Yeah.
So I would be taking a gel at the line maybe 10 minutes before or something, right? Like.
Yeah, maybe, again, a gel is real good because, it gets into you quite quick. Again, it's maybe a little easier digested in the stomach as well, because, you don't want a lot of blood flow going to your stomach to try and, digest and not to get into the bloodstream. So anything is easy. And one other thing that I see a lot of people doing wrong is caffeine. I know people take a lot of coffee before the start. Caffeine is great. Us cyclists are all, most of us are caffeine lovers. I know Dan Fleeman, who's on here today, he's I would say a coffee connoisseur, and you know, a lot of people take caffeine way too close to the start. You know, you got to take, you know, if you want to get a good hit out of it, you want to take it about 40 minutes before you kick off something of a short event like this, not on the start line, because you're going to get the benefits after the ride, basically. So
so we have another question coming on through from Quentin Mahini, actually saying, so he's asking for a friend. He qualified, asking for a friend, but saying, does an 87 kilogram rider need to get sugar in him before doing this? Asking for a friend. I love it. So yeah, I think we answered that question. I think we got on that a little bit. Now, relating to weight, though, it seems like that was directly relating to his question there. So is there differences depending on weight? It seems like it's just the same across the board. You just need more sugar for how much mass you're moving.
Yeah, and again, you know, between a 70 kg guy and an 87 kg guy, you know, your body can only absorb so much, you know, so much sugar, you know, into its liver, and your body can only hold so much glycogen. So there's not real big variances in what it can be between a 70 kg and an 87 kg.
So you might have more need, but the digestion process, there's a reality of how fast we can uptake that into the bloodstream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, you know, something like this, like the rides that we're doing now with the guys, they're burning a lot of sugar, not necessarily a lot of calories. So, you know, you don't want to overload, especially if, you know, obviously a lot of guys are using it for training. You know, you don't want to overload the calories that, you know, you can put on weight if you're eating too much and the ride's quite short. You know, focus on getting good quality sugars in, you know, in that 2 hours before the start, keeping your stomach quite empty before kicking off, so you know you're not wanting to get the spew bucket out halfway through, but it's never a nice sight being there. But yeah, so you want to make sure that you've got, you know, your quite refined sugars and you just before the, you know, that hour over 2 hours before the start. So
we got a couple more questions come through. We will get right to them, you guys, but I want to talk a little about this ramp up at the end, because we've had a pretty similar workout up until this point, and now we're getting into the cadence has gone up by about a few RPM. It looks like the watts have also gone up by about 15 watts for my FTP. That looks like a change of about 5%, maybe a little bit more. So what's happening right now in this race?
So right now the team's narrowed down to about 4 or 5 riders. Again, you're the GC guy, so you know the responsibilities on your shoulders to take them bigger pulls. So you're getting your 2-minute efforts going, you know, above your threshold, to very much the top end of your threshold. So at this stage, you've already done quite a lot of 1-minute blocks. A wee bit of fatigue, I hope, is settling in to most of you. You know, you've another 2-minute block after this, and then we're into the finishing straight, and that's, you've got a real big 3-minute ramp going towards the last, you know, really 1.5 kilometers, that last 3 minutes, where we're, you know, you're going to be kicking up here to up to 3:75. So yeah, that's not going to be nice.
So we got another question coming on through here. So we're getting into the end here. This is where it's really starting to ramp up. The pressure is on to get the fastest time as possible. I would think that all the teams, you know, there's just a reality of the way the physiology works in the human body, of like, here's your peak powers, and they're able to hold on to these certain numbers, and then all of a sudden there's this huge, I think some people are confused, like, well, why don't they do these bursts at different times? And I think it has something to do with the reality of how peak powers work, and that you know, at this end, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, you know, about 9 minutes total, they're going to be putting out their 10-minute best now. That's what they're aiming at. You know what I mean? They're 8 to 10 minute best at this point, because at this point, that's all the time that's left. And if they were to do that earlier, going over like that is going to end up putting them slower at the end. That this is the only time that they can actually put this effort out without ruining the time trial.
Exactly. And you know, one of the beauties of a team time trial is, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So, you know, you can only go so hard as what the weakest rider can really hold on to. So, you know, if you go too hard too early and you lose all your riders, you know, you're not going to have a very fast time, because, you know, we're looking at the 4th rider across the line. That's why in this here, you know, it ramps up at the end, your efforts ramp up. You're doing longer turns because, again, you're the strongest guy. And then that last, as you say, that last peak 8 minute, 10-minute power is at the finish line. So coming towards the finish.
We got a question coming through wondering about Red Bull. We were talking caffeine and fueling. I wonder how Red Bull does. I don't know if it gives you wings. I think they're, but, I think it's different for different people. I've heard people hate carbonation. It just messes with their stomach. And I've heard other people say, I love carbonation and I wouldn't do anything else. Personally, I like a nice espresso. 40 minutes before I do, or a nice Americano, 4 shots. Let's go. No, maybe not 4. Quite a few shots though, and get moving.
Yeah, Red Bull. Personally for me, I don't like the taste of it. Just in the sense of it's quite gassy and whatnot. But I know a lot of people who have used it. I think there's a bit of sense about that. The sugars in it, and mixing the sugars with the caffeine sort of helps with the absorption of it. You get a better hit out of the caffeine earlier. Again, I'm not so sure exactly how accurate that is or whatnot. So I think that's why they sort of say maybe Red Bull is a wee bit easier to take closer to the start of the event because it absorbed a bit quicker. But yeah, again,
as long as it doesn't bug your stomach, because with all those bubbles in there, that would be the main thing I would think. There's another one coming through here that's interesting. That this has gotten a lot of talk lately because keto has gotten so big in the last years. And do riders like Froome get fat adapted, such as the keto diet? I wouldn't now. Well, I'll let you go on this, Stephen, but I want to plug in here real quick. I wouldn't say that they go into a full-on keto diet, and I'll let Stephen go off on that. Yeah. Like fat adaptation and keto dieting are 2 different things, very different things.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, and just to, I suppose, to answer that pretty directly is Chris Froome went to the unprecedented lengths of releasing his data and his nutritional strategies during the Giro d'Italia, particularly the day that he won. It was released by BBC website there last week, and it pretty much describes and details every bit of nutrition that he took during that day, and also his lead up and power and whatnot. And it very much was more or less a sugar. I think he had 1.7 grams of sugar, something ridiculous over that sort of stage. I can't remember what it was exactly, but he took on a lot. But
1.7 grams per certain amount of time.
I think it was every minute or something.
Oh my goodness!
I need to
have a crazy uptake. That's a lot of uptake.
He had something like 20 people at the side of the road handing up food, nutrition, and bottles and whatnot during it. So, but I mean, it doesn't really detail what he does in training. I'm 100% sure he uses sort of fat adaptations and certainly manipulating his diet to be efficient at that keto diet. I can't answer exactly for him, but I'd be surprised if he's on such a thing. So, a lot of guys in the pro peloton, they work very much on how your body uses sugar as much as it uses fat, because you got to be able to have them pathways open that your body's able to use sugar as well as it uses fat. Because
I think a lot of people are like all or nothing on the way we eat, right? Because we're such habitual. We're so habitual that we're like, well, this is what I'm eating, and this is how I eat it, and this is the kind of things I eat. And it's like, well, it's a lot more complicated than that. It's a lot more, and when it comes to getting into rhythms of and windows of opportunity to create adaptation. So in the same way that you're not always doing 110 of your FTP or doing an FTP interval all the time, at other times you're finding that window of opportunity to do a recovery ride or an endurance ride mixed with a recovery ride, right? So you're finding these windows of opportunity for what the body needs for its best adaptation at that time. So I've always talked about it as like, well, some days I might be where I'm teaching the body to burn fat, and other days I might be teaching the body to burn sugar as best as I possibly can, right? Like, it's so I don't know. The windows of opportunity, I think, is the way I always like to put it. But we're getting into it now. The riders are here we go. They're actually chatting about it. Aaron Locks was like saying, "Oh, mommy, please don't." He'd let all that lots of little chatter here. Come on, Rogers, get back on it. No cleat undone. Pedal anyways. Push into the pedals regardless of the cleat. Let's go here, Rogers. Don't hurt yourself, but make it happen here, bud.
Here we go. So yeah. We're certainly getting into the last, 2 kilometers now. It's a real big 3 minute effort. So I want to see them watts per kilo kicking up from everybody. I expect Dan Fleeman there to be, kicking towards over 6 watts per kilo, 6.5. Yeah, he's not the rider he once was, but still, you're doing okay.
I need a hug, Aaron Locks is saying from One Love. So it looks like it's getting difficult in here. 375, so it looks like you're looking at pushing them into that 150% or so of their FTP. Yeah. Going to be a tough, very tough last few minutes here, but it's for the finish line. That's the whole idea. So they're going to be going all in for the finish line at the end of the team time trial. At this point, there's only probably like 4 or 5 left in the group of riders, as this is for the W on the day. And always kind of cool in the team time trials too is that you can be a part of that winning move throughout the entirety of the race, that you were a part of it in some way. Even if you didn't hang on till the end, you were able to put in some sort of, I mean, any rider who sacrifices off the back, they were on the front at some point. Absolutely given everything they could to the speed of the team.
Absolutely, and that's the whole uniqueness of the stage and of this discipline, So it's a fantastic discipline, and it's a fantastic discipline for especially young riders to learn. School kids, juniors. Really, it probably should be done a wee bit more, but definitely something that to use and builds fitness as well. So.
Getting a question or a comment actually coming through here from Victoria Williams. Says, enjoyed stage workouts 1 and 2. The Tenfords were more amenable to those who reside across the pond. Perhaps next year, GC collaboration with Zwift would consider featuring more workout time slots. We're actually, I think we are looking into maybe even amending some of the schedule. If it gets real popular and you guys poke a little bit, make sure to just let us know, hey, we would like to see more of these. If you guys really like them, we could maybe get some more into the schedule. Now, they won't all be live streamed like this. We're not going to be live 24/7 or anything, but we'll definitely look at getting as many out there as will be ridden. It is a numbers game, though, too. So, Victoria, we appreciate
Victoria.
that. A couple more coming through here, actually. Are you guys using Pacer bots? I am. Suresh, yes, I am, 100%. For my to keep a watcher in the game, I am using a pacer bot on my avatar in order to stay with and show what the workout is like in a meaningful way on the presentation to all of the riders.
Last minute.
And we're all done. It looks like the riders were able to. Now they're cooling down at 376. Uh-oh. Okay,
no,
193.
I don't think
193. Yeah. Okay, good. I was like, oh no. So cool down for 5 minutes here. But we're using. So the reason why the pacer is needed for this, for just my avatar, is to keep the data on the screen all making sense, right? So because we're in workout mode for a live broadcast, having the numbers up at the top there all the time. So right, if I go and click on somebody else's, you see I'm here. They all have my numbers at the top. So because of that, we want to make sure that the workout's always making sense for the broadcast as we're explaining what's happening to everybody as we go along. So, Suresh, I really appreciate the question there, though, and the comments. See if there's anything happen over at Mixer here. It looks like we've got Hey Wacky Jack as well as Mulberry. Good to see you. Is this a class about the human body? Yes, it kind of is, actually. I think it kind of is a class about the human body and what you have to go through in order to win a stage or at least be competitive in the stage of Tour de France. We do have a little more data I think some riders are going to be interested in because Matthew Hayman has been such a big part of the Zwift community, using the program a lot in order to get a W at the Paris-Roubaix, and just, it's this whole cool story around Hayman, and there's just a lot of connection with him in the Zwift world. So I do believe we have some of the data today from him. Now, is this his overall ride then from the day?
Yeah, so
his looks way more like, okay, we were looking at Simon Clark here, and his was like, he was just up and down. But you can see Hayman here is, let's see here, where's Matthews here? Matthews is like peaking and diving a lot, actually. Real quick here, let's go ahead and merge Hayman's in.
Yeah, so Matthew, he ended up averaging 362 watts, which is 4.5 watts per kilo, and a normalized 392 watts. I think he got tailed off as well from his team. Again, he'd done the job earlier on for the guys, but he actually, his peak 20-minute power was nearly 410 watts. At 5 watts per kilo. He actually normalized 434 watts for 20 minutes, which is, going up into towards maybe 6 watts per kilo. So again, a similar effort to what Simon did for his team. And his peak 20-minute power, he averaged 54.3 kilometers an hour. Again, pretty insane. And his cadence as well was he averaged 97 cadence for a peak 20-minute power. So you can see why cadence is so important. Certainly so important in these efforts. So the opening 10 minutes of the ride, he done it.
Looks like he put in a lot of the work in the opening 10 minutes. Actually, it looks like he was kind of a workhorse up there.
Yeah, by the look of his data, I can see that he was the man doing a lot of the bigger turns earlier on, and it looks like maybe he pulled the plug in the last sort of 10 kilometers or so. His job was done, and they had a fantastic ride as well today. I think they are going to be really happy. So they were fourth, only 9 seconds down. So only 9 seconds down behind BMC. Yeah, fourth place. Like if you look at the top 5, Sunweb,
Scott, within 10 seconds of each other.
Yeah, that was these guys are, and that's going to set a precedent for the rest of the tour. That it was all pretty close. So
everyone's showing up for the W. Actually, 11 seconds between the top 5. Team Sunweb's in there as well. 11 seconds back. Yeah. So solid effort between all of those riders. For those of you just tuning in, we've got a huge burst in viewers actually over at the Mixer channel. We are looking at live data, not live data, but data. Only about an hour and a half to 2 hours after the Tour de France finished from the Tour de France, from riders that were a part of the race. Actually, we're currently looking at Matthew Hayman's numbers. We had some Simon Clark data up there as well, and these are riders who finished in the top 5 teams. Actually, Michelin Scott is who Matthew Hayman rides for, 9 seconds off the W actually. So pretty cool data we're able to look at here because of Dig Deep Coaching. Now the reason that we're doing this is in conjunction with the Dig Deep Coaching Grand Tour stages that we are doing, virtual Grand Tour out on Zwift, so people can ride these similar critical moments out on Zwift that are the race winning moves in workouts that have been designed by Dig Deep Coaching. So I know we said that like 3 or 4 times throughout the broadcast for everybody who's been here the entire time, but we got a lot of new viewers who are jumping into the broadcast going, oh, I didn't know this was going on. Now, if you do want to know when this is going on, when we are doing these rides, make sure to hit that follow button. Head on over to our Facebook as well as our Twitter. Give us a follow there. Dig Deep Coaching as well as putting stuff out there. DigDeepCoaching.com. You can find them. Zwift Community Live. And then you'll just know whenever we go live and you won't miss a single moment. You can also look up on the Zwift Companion app. That's how I join all of my rides. It is available on Android and iOS now, as well as Mac and PC. I jump into the Companion app. I look for the events coming up. Bam! I push join, and I'm good to go. Go ahead and join all the Dig Deep Coaching rides that you can, and try and go join them all right now. And then if you can show up, you can show up, and you can put a reminder on your phone to say, "Hey, remind me 60 minutes from the start." It actually asks you when you. So on the Companion app, if you download the Zwift Companion app, you have to, when you do the search in the in the Play Store or in the Apple Store, you search Zwift Companion or Companion Zwift, and you'll actually get that app, which is different than the Zwift game app. They're two different things. The Companion app is kind of like a controller that you use, as well as things like this, scheduling rides. Go in there, find all the Dig Deep coaching rides, just join them. Just join them all right now and say, warn me 60 minutes before the ride. And then you'll know the broadcast is going live in 60 minutes, and you'll know that you can jump on the bike and ride that day's Tour de France stage, Critical Moments, an hour before. You'll get that warning. We'll see you out there out on course. So let's see if there's any more questions or comments coming through here. Dan Fleeman says, I hate you, Gallagher. Well, Dan, what's your prediction for tomorrow? That's what I want to know, because you got Gaviria. That was solid prediction on day one. That was a solid, and I put my chips on the table same the following day, and then the crash I think took out my prediction. I think a lot of people who are big Sagan fans were pretty happy to see what happened on stage 2. I think everybody thought BMC was going to win today. At least I predicted BMC, so we're getting pretty good. 2 out of 3 predictions from the broadcast here. We're getting a pretty good percentage here, Steven. This is kind of at the end of the broadcast. We want to make our predictions for the next day, Tour de France. I'm going to put it on you, Gallagher. What are you saying for tomorrow's stage? Let's take a look at it as well. I'm going to actually bring it in here in just a moment. I gotta actually do some work here to get stage 4. I didn't have it prepared, but what do you think? I'm looking at the profile here. It's flat. It's flat again.
It's pretty flat. I mean, pretty flat after a team time trial. The guy shouldn't be as fatigued as what it would have been if it was a 200k stage. So, not that I'm saying they're going into it fresh, but it should be. I'm gonna go for Kittel. So I think he's the first day he showed he's going
really
pretty good.
Now earlier on, you were kind of like, I don't know about Kittel,
I don't know.
But now it seems like maybe things have changed up.
Well, the only reason, if anybody watched the replay of like stage 1, you see how far he comes back. Man, he comes back from way back. He wasn't nowhere near the front, and he still finished 3rd. He made up a lot of time at the end. So all he needs to do is get that right. His team get it right. Bring him into the shooting position at the end, and he's got a big power bomb there to let off. So I reckon if you get him in there, he could be all right. So, but I was skeptical. I'll put my hands up. I was skeptical at the start. So, we'll see.
Let's see here. There's a couple more questions coming through. I realize that my request may require a bit more work, but please and yes, Victoria Williams is saying, Victoria, hope we can help you out there. We'll see what we can do. How can you get access to the pros data? That's a good question actually coming from Suresh.
Yeah.
So how did we? So we have immediately following the stages here. I mean, we got Simon Clark here. We've got Matthew Heyman.
Yeah.
Go ahead and chat a little about this. And we're trying to get the setup here so that it's fairly recognized that we're working with Training Peaks as well as Dig Deep Coaching. We're waiting for a few of the graphics to come on through for that.
Yeah, so if you go to trainingpeaks.com/Tour de France, they have a whole separate hub in there, so a Tour de France hub. There's lots of different content regarding predictions for the stage, analysis of the stage. Did a great one today from it was actually from Ben Day, who's a coach over there, an ex-professional rider, and he'd done a great article on about why and how to make the technique of a team time trial cool. And so we're actually working on the analysis of an in-depth analysis of a lot of the stages. Tomorrow is going to be one of our first days of doing a full in-depth analysis, comparing data and really going into a lot of text, making wee graphics, talking about the stage and breaking it down. And that should be released probably tomorrow. It normally takes us, quite a few hours to do this analysis. So if you just go over trainingpeaks.com/Tour de France, check out their hub, and that's going to be lots of stuff filtering through there. Also keep an eye out on their social media and stuff as well. So we're going to be doing a lot of full analysis, and just keep an eye for our Dig Deep Coaching Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So you'll see a lot of stuff coming. We'll be sharing it as well. So
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, good workout today. It looked like everybody in the workout loved it. Thanks for the shout out, guys. That's Big Mig right there. So good to have you in the workout today. But it looked like there was a lot of chatter coming through about how difficult the workout was today. Actually, I think it was a little bit harder than the last few. Actually, Stephen, just being a solid effort all the way through. Tomorrow being a Sprinters Day, what do we have to look forward to? I'm going to take a look here in Zwift events, but what's happening tomorrow?
So tomorrow we're going to be a lead out man. So we're going to replicate what it's like to be a lead out. So we're going to start a little easier. You'll be glad to know anybody who done today. We're gonna ease into it a wee bit, and then it's going to be a ramping up to really try and get your sprinter into position. So there's going to be a lot of harder sustained efforts with wee jumps up and down up into your your VO2 and anaerobic as well as you're trying to position the guys. What's different between that and being a sprinter is that we don't have that massive punch at the end like you would do if you were a sprinter, but the time just before the finish is going to be a lot harder. So yeah, we're going to practice our lead outs tomorrow. So
sounds good. Lead out man tomorrow. Lead out man or woman tomorrow is what's going to be happening, and you'll be setting up for my prediction as well as Fleeman's. I don't know. I watched him sprint on the first day and I liked it. Fleeman did too. I'm going with Gaviria again tomorrow as well. That's 2 for Gaviria. We've got 1 for Kittel. If you have a prediction, let us know, because we will shout it out in our socials after the stage. We'll let everybody know this person was the person who got the prediction right. Let's see how well we can do as a community on a prediction, because if we put enough straws out there, one of them's gonna draw. So get enough straws out there, one of them's gonna draw, and then we'll be able to give you a shout out. And we even put a little proof out there that you were able to you picked Jasper Stuyven coming from Anson Brooks here. Thanks a lot, Anson, for the prediction there. So we got Gaviria, we've got a Jasper Stuyven, we've got a prediction here coming from Steven saying that it's going to be Kittel. And if Steven is right, we'll actually get a video of him saying it, that he predicted Kittel specifically to get it out there. So all right, everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate all you guys. We'll see you tomorrow then. Steven, we're doing the lead out man tomorrow.
Doing lead out man tomorrow.
All right, stage 4, Tour de France, critical moments for the wins. Get that replication of workout out there. Make sure to join up now on your companion net, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Steven, as always, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Cheers.
All right, that was Stephen Gallagher coming from Dig Deep Coaching. That was stage 3 of the Virtual Grand Tour. Some suffering in the legs for everybody who participated, looked like, but it's good suffering because it will make them stronger. Come back tomorrow to get stronger out on Zwift. As always, great job to all the riders, and ride on.